Committee meeting of June 6, 2023, and ask the staff to call the roll.
President Curry.
Present.
I'm sorry. Vice President Figueroa Cole. Here. Alder Vitever. Alder Madison. Here. Alder Govindarajan. Here. Alder Conklin.
Present.
Alder Evers. Alder Bennett. You have quorum.
Thank you, Karen. And just for IT staff, I got a message. Could someone resend Alder Evers the virtual link, please?
Yes, I will do that.
All right, that takes us to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes from last CCEC meeting of March 15th, 2023?
I can make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right. Moved and seconded. Unless I see otherwise, can I accept unanimous approval? Not seeing any. Minutes are passed. Public comment. Last I looked, we didn't have any. Karen is saying no, so we don't have any public comments. That would move us to disclosures and recusals. Any members of the body should make required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethic code. Not seeing any. That takes us to agenda item 2, legislative file 78126, IT project updates. We do have Director Edgerton in chambers. And I'll turn it over to you. I got you. You're on.
Okay, all right, thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sarah Edgerton. For those of who I've not met, I'm the IT Director and the Chief Information Officer for the City of Madison. I'm here today to talk about 311 and our roadmap and where we are with that. M365, another project that we are working on, as well as our Legistar boards, commissions, and committees. Karen, can we go to the slideshow, please? So as Karen's getting that up, I'll give you a little background. All three of these projects are really big projects for the City of Madison and for IT. And what is really kind of important to note is that we have sort of a small resource pool that we can use to implement these projects, the project managers. So for example, the 311 project manager is also the project manager who implemented the hybrid meetings, Zach Commons. And this is 2 of like 8 to 10 projects that he is working on at any given time. So we're always sort of moving back and forth between projects. It's not that we are working on just one singular project as we're working through. Our M365, the project manager for M365 is also our project manager for our Legistar tool set. So that's another one, and is also our records custodian for the City of Madison. So that's the other project that she works on. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thanks, Karen. So here's the agenda. We'll go through the 311, the roadmap for a 311 customer relationship management system, and what does that look like. Then the M365, and then we'll talk about Legistar tools. Next slide, please. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. Thanks. So I just want to give you a little background on the 311 project. I think that there is sometimes misinformation that I take complete ownership of, is that people think that we already are starting on a 311 project, when in fact what we are starting on is we have a consultant that is in and has been working with agencies on a roadmap for what it would look like to have a 311 customer relationship management system in the City of Madison. There's a lot behind that goes into play before we would even talk about let's do a 311. And one of them is obviously the cost of it and how this would all work. And so the PCG, our consultant, has really been looking at how do we do this with the resources we have today with adding just a few more resources to that. And so that assessment, and then what can we do without really adding that much more budget. So they've been facilitating discussions with key stakeholders. Key stakeholders are literally every city agency. They have talked to every city agency about what their services are, what services they see would work really well for a 311, and how aligned they are already for a 311 system. I know that they spent quite a bit of time with Karen and her staff talking about what it would look like for a 311, especially the customer relationship management system. I think that's a big piece for the council office. Then also, as I said, the city agencies and looking at how we could benefit from a more streamlined service. I know that when you go to the website, if you don't understand how the city works, it's actually very hard to get through the city website. So this is something that we've been looking at that the 311 has many recommendations on. We are looking forward to hearing about all of those. Then also looking at what that readiness would be. So the readiness of IT and our infrastructure and what we already have in place. We have quite a few really big enterprise systems already that can help to support a 311, and then what would sit on top of that 311. Organizing, and then they've also been facilitating quite a few discussions with the different teams that need to look at what this would be, and really trying to take away that ownership that we have sometimes in our agencies. I know in IT sometimes we'll say, well, this is something that we've been working on, and we really think this is important, and taking away the personal and really looking at what does this mean for the city and for our residents. And then they're just then going to review and create this roadmap for us. Next slide, please. Thanks. So for those who don't know what a 311 customer relationship management system, I try to not just assume that everybody knows, and I explain it. I'm using the city of Sacramento. It's one way for a resident to come in and get the services they need, or to get the knowledge, the information that they need. So in the 311 example here with City of Sacramento, you can request a service, you can find answers. That means having a very robust knowledge base. So people can go in, they just type in refuse or trash, and then they're able to find everything on refuse or trash. They're also able to explore and learn more about, like, if they have a service, they already put in a request, and now they want to find out where their service is in our processes, they're able to find that. That's one of the biggest things that we hear from residents is we don't know what happens after we email about, like, a report a problem. I do know that we see that with Common Council, where I will have alders who will send me notes saying, where is this in whatever process this is? And so then we have to track it down. Residents will be able to do that. We will be able to let agencies look at where services are, where requests are in the process. Next slide, please. So just how it works, you can report, review, we're on it, and check updates. So that's one piece of a 311. The other piece to a 311 is having many different abilities and opportunities to reach us, so that it's not just that you are doing it via email or doing it on the website, that you can text, you can use social media. There are many opportunities. You can even walk in, so that there are other ways that you can reach out and get those services. This is what we are also having our consultant explore and look at the different software opportunities for us to use. Karen, next slide, please. All right, so these are the key deliverables. I'm not going to go through all of them. I will, of course, share out this PowerPoint so that you all have it. But really, just the key things here are identifying the city services that really align themselves to a 311 and that they make sense as being part of that. And then really talking about the change management, because that's going to be another huge piece to this, and we have to really think about how we would do that across the city. And then, obviously, budgeting that forecast, doing that multi-year, what does this look like for the city? Next slide, please, Karen. Thanks. So here's the timeline. Everything, I couldn't figure out checks in PowerPoint. I apologize. So if it's in a dark, deep, the black hole or black circle, that means that we've already completed it. So we have done all of this. Karen, can you go to the next slide? And we are now, and you can't really see the difference here, but we are where it says March to June 30th of 2023. PCG is writing the first draft of the report. So then they'll send the report back to IT. We will go through it very rigorously. We need to make sure that all the stats are correct, all that data is correct, names are correct, agency names are correct. And then once we have it, we'll send it, once we're done, we'll send it back to PCG and they'll do their final submission in September. And then we'll put out presentations to the mayor and to the Common Council and to the CCEC. So we're hoping to have this final report in September of October of this year. So that's the first project we're working on. Karen, can we go on to the next one, please? So the next one is M365. And so I'll talk about M365 while the slide of, there we go. So this is the project update. So M365 we're doing in phases. And the reason why is because it's a really big project. There's the tenant that we have to get, which is all of the licensing and the security systems that we need to put in place. Then we have to do Exchange Online. And then we are going to be doing the Microsoft Suite, and then we'll do Teams and SharePoint. So we're doing it in phases. And Karen, can you go to the next slide, please? Thanks. So here's the roadmap. So we just completed the tenant, which is pretty exciting for us. And we are now, and we're doing some of these things in parallel, just so you know, it's not that we're just doing it. We have, these all are in different phases of work. And so right now we're working on Exchange Online. So the discovery phase is completed. And we are working on the design phase with our consultant. And I want to note that we are working with 4 different vendors on all of this. We have a vendor who is helping with the tenant and the Exchange Online. And then we also have our previous vendor that we had for our email backup system that we have to also work with, because the two of them have to work together. We also have a vendor that is working with us on the SharePoint Online and the Teams project. And we have another vendor that we also are working with on new backup servers and systems that we need to have in place. So there is a lot of vendors that we are working with, and then we have our own team that works on this. And there is 4 people who are working on this in IT as well. So that's a pretty big team. So the design phase, we are almost done with that. And then we're going to be doing prototype pilot phase in July to September. That is, we're doing several of those, and we're starting with like the core M365 collaboration team, and they're going to be piloting and seeing how things are working. And then we'll slowly build it out, and then IT is going to do it. And IT has to really go through and vet it very well for Exchange Online, because we have so many systems that are using email integration, and we have to make sure that they all work before we can start deploying it out. Then we're going to start going to different agencies, and we don't want to do one whole agency at a time, because of what if there's something that really kind of catastrophic occurs. If we have a whole agency going through the migration, then nobody can do their business, right? We don't have continuity of operations. So we have to think about how we're going to stagger everybody. So that's another project that we have to figure out. But one of the things that we have been looking at is we're really interested in having the Common Council be one of our pilots, because you are not actually using, for the most time, the desktop. You are using the Outlook OWA, and so we'd like to migrate you over so you can see how it works in the new M365 cloud. And then from there, we have the deploy enterprise-wide from August to December. And we've got some really big mailboxes that we have to move over, just incredibly big. So we are working through that and what that project plan is going to be. There is going to be huge change migration. And then we also have to look at like the digital literacy of how well some of our staff are going to be able to use the new tool sets that we're giving them. So we also have to think about that. So we'll be doing an assessment, and then there's training and documentation. And then also, once the Exchange Online license is provisioned and everybody is on that, then you have access to OneDrive. So that'll be something that Common Council will have. Then the next phase of this is the Microsoft Office and OneDrive. So December 23rd to January 23rd. And again, we'll have another assessment that we're going to be doing with that, and more change migration, and then more training and documentation. Next slide, please. And then whoops, next slide, sorry. Yeah, I got a little excited with my slides. The next one then is SharePoint Online and Teams. And this one, we have been actually working on this one for like the last 8 months. So ROTI, which means redundant, outdated, trivial, and incomplete. We have that completed. That's the analysis and cleaning up of a lot of our sites. We had many agencies that created sites and subsites and subsites and subsites as they were learning how to use SharePoint in the last 12 years, and they didn't touch half of these sites. Well, obviously, we don't want to migrate them over, so then we had to go through and work with every single agency to help them identify what these sites were and then to identify the cleaning up of them. We did that with Common Council as well. We've already done one analysis with all agencies, so every agency has already had business analysis, and we're going to come back and do a final just simply because there's been somewhat of, I just want to note, we started some of this work in 2019 and 2020, then COVID came, we had to move our resources and switch, and now we're back to it, and so we want to come back and make sure that we have a good analysis for moving forward. We have to build all 35 agencies and the subsites and then the team sites for all agencies. And then again, more change management, training, and documentation. And then our EmployeeNet site, we're also going to be moving to SharePoint. And we'll be doing that between February and July of 2024. And then the next slide for this one. I always like to share some data points. So here are a couple for you. We have 400 plus SharePoint sites that we will need to support, meaning move over. 170 of these sites are migrations. So we're gonna have to recreate them. And then the rest of them, we're hoping that we can just archive them. And then as of May 1st, there are 7,587,728 documents in our document repository. That's pretty big, yeah, that's pretty big. And this continues to grow every day, and so that gives you an idea of what we are dealing with for this. Okay, next slide, please. So just quick benefits of M365, and I was really thinking about when I did this is sort of thinking about who my audience is here today. Stability of email and SharePoint. No patching Sundays. I know that Alder Rummel had asked me about patching Sundays, and a very good point about that many of our alders work on Sundays. And so this is, yeah, and we don't like to have that where we are disrupting your time that you need to do your work. So we're excited about no patching Sundays. Improved OWA, so improved access to Outlook Web, more robust collaboration with Teams and SharePoint. That's a huge one, I think, for you when you get that. No more massive upgrades and deployment efforts. That's for us, and we're super excited about that. And then improved security with continuous upgrades, which is good for all of us. So we're very excited about that. Okay, next slide. Legistar Tools project update. So to give you some background, Legistar is the tool that you use to look at the agendas and minutes, your calendar. And that is a system that is part of the Granicus suite. And so we use the Legistar system, and we have used that system since 2004. So we were one of their original customers. I think the city of Milwaukee, and then Madison was one of the original ones when this company was actually located in Chicago, and it was called Daystar. And we were one of the very last in-host sites, and that is because we have so much documents that we save in our Legistar system. And so to do that upgrade was a pretty big deal, and we negotiated with them on the cost of moving it over. And by us just like hanging on forever, they basically gave it to us for free and just said, please move over to our cloud. So that worked out well for the city, we thought. So the next project we're working on is the boards and commissions, and that is the vacancy system that is used for MyCommit when you're looking to see who is on a committee and what vacancies there are, as well as the application process that is right now a paper process. This will be online as well. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is the current state. I just wanted to show you this, and I've done this in other presentations, so if you've seen this, I apologize. This will be familiar to you. But the MyKit Commit legacy system is a very, very old system that we have. It's one of our last legacy systems that we have. It's a progress system for those who care. And then we have our Legistar vacancy report, which comes out of our Granicus Legistar suite. And then we also have that Microsoft Word application that I was speaking to. Can you go to the next slide? So future state of boards and commissions, we'll be able to keep track of board expiration, board appointment expirations, open and filled seats, and then the applications all within a dashboard view, which will be pretty exciting. And they have much better demographic tracking, which we think is huge and is a really big piece of what we have been asked for to create in MyCommit over the years. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So the system, you can't see it very well here, but what it does is it really it provides more focus. If you look at the application today, it's very generalized, and it doesn't really focus down to each of the boards, commission, and committees. So if you were looking for, let's say, something with, can you go to the next slide? I think there's actually a good example of this. This is the demographics just showing you how robust that is. And the nice thing is with this is that you can actually add in what you need to. So this is fields that can be added to, and if we want to edit that. And then the next slide is the one I want to speak to. Yes. So this really shows like getting down into the different things. So they have all things here at once. So it shows that you can apply for multiple boards. You can do your statement of interest here. You can do all of the different municipal code things that they want you to be aware of all in one place. They're capturing it in one system rather than 3 or 4 different systems that we have currently today. Next slide, please. Thanks. Oh, so I didn't include, there's a slide. So there's a slide in the previous presentation that I had where with the boards, commission, and committees, so let's say you want to apply for the planning committee. You can actually ask them questions of what is your background? What have you worked on this? Have you done that? So that it's a far more focused application, which I think is really an important piece of what we're looking for when we're looking for committee members. So here's the timeline. The contract is completed. We are going to be doing an August 2023 kickoff, and our vendor tells us it's only going to take us about 4 to 5 months, but we're saying January to March implementation to be safe. So if we do the kickoff in August, they're saying that they think it will be done by January. We're going to say March, just to be safe. And there's also obviously going to be a lot of change management with this, and there's going to be we're going to have to do a lot of communications and outreach on this one. So this is a big piece for that, but I'm excited for this. Can you do the next slide, please? So then what's next? Then we're going to explore the rest of the Gov Meeting and Agenda suite of tools. We have money for this. We have the funding. It's in our capital budget. And so we're looking at some of these different things, and this is where we'll be coming back to the CCEC and working with Karen and working with the team that is the, I can't think of the name of the team that we all are on. The BCC, the Boards, Commission, and Committees admin team. These are things that we'll be looking at and seeing if there are different ones that we want to implement. And that is all I have for you.
Thank you, Director Edgerton. Are there any questions, comments? You just popped up and then you vanished. So, okay, Alder Madison.
Thank you for your presentation. So I do have Microsoft 365 on my other computer because I just had the software before.
Yeah.
I guess the only question I have, will we get project management or, so we will get it?
Yeah, that will be part of that whole suite.
Okay.
Yep.
And then for the 311, is there a plan to allow like non-tech folks to test it out? Like just community members or committee members potentially?
Yeah, so when we get to the point where, I mean, we don't even have a system in place yet.
Yep.
So when
Yep.
we get to, before we even start talking about systems, what we need to start talking about is what does that engagement look like with our residents? And that's where we'll bring in Larissa as the communications coordinator. And then we also now have a digital inclusion coordinator. And that position will also be working on this. And then what I'm hoping they will do is assessments with residents to figure out what tool sets they would like to use, and then having them do usability testing with, we have a staff member on the web team that this is part of their specialty that they do is UX and UI testing,
Gotcha.
usability.
And then is Sacramento the only model?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I like the look of it, so I
Yeah.
picked that one. No, many cities have it.
No. I mean I mean the model that you're looking at.
No, and who knows what the model will look like
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
use, yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm just interested. I like the Sacramento model, but there are other models that it's just, they're like really robust.
Very robust,
Oh.
yeah. I'm sure I
right.
picked one that at this point is not as robust as some of the other ones that are out there now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alder Madison. Alder Rummel?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. It's really exciting to see that 311 is still poking along. Sometimes these things take a long time, but it's really exciting. I put my hand up because I'm interested in SharePoint. When I previously served, alders did not have access to SharePoint. Do you see that changing, or has it already changed and I just don't know how to do it yet?
So SharePoint will very much be something that we hope that alders will use as part of Teams. I think that that's a huge piece for collaboration and for the records piece of it. So we welcome that far more than like a Google Doc or something. So I would really hope that this is where the council goes. SharePoint right now, you can use it, but you have to use a VPN or you have to log in each time you want to hit a document, and I have to say it's not very usable, it's not very friendly. I would recommend just not using it and just waiting until we get this on for you.
Yeah, my former day job, we used SharePoint, we used Teams, we used all those things. So, it's really a helpful tool compared to the way our system is now to find things. So if it would make things finding, you search for something and you might never find it if you don't know how to ask for it, but you could find it possibly in SharePoint. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Before we move on to the next question, could you share what SharePoint is for the non-Microsoft familiar folks?
Sure. So SharePoint is really a repository of documents, and it sets up sites, and then you have teams on top of it. So it's basically, right now, the way it is it's list of different documents and PDFs, PowerPoints, whatever else that you have there. And you're able to go in and just access it, and it allows for collaboration. You can check in and check out documents. With Teams on top of it, you can actually have communication, conversations, you can do videos, you can do, it's so incredibly robust. There's going to be quite the governance model that we'll have to put in place around this and how we use this system. But yeah, does that answer your
Yes.
question?
Thank
Okay.
you, Director. Alder Rahili?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for the presentation. My question is along the line with the BCCs. I know there's no consistency when people apply for a specific committee or commission or board. And Karen, help me here. What kind of system were we going to use to simplify that process? So we know Nasra applied for certain, committee. This is the update, rather than just having different pool of people and not knowing the process and the updates.
So the system that we're looking at with Granicus, their boards, commissions, and committees should create a standardization across for our residents who are applying for different positions. And the other thing that it will allow them to do is apply for multiple different positions on committees, commissions, and boards.
but will they be able to see the process? Because sometimes it's like you submit your resume
Yeah.
and there's no follow-up.
You know what? I have no idea. I will have to ask the vendor and I'll get back to you. That's a great question and a good thing that they should probably have. So I'll ask them and see what it can do.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
that's a
Sarah.
great question.
Thank you. Alder Figueroa Cole?
Thanks, Sarah. I'll be nice. So how long have we been discussing the 365 project?
So M365, we got the funding for that in 2019 to 2020.
So I gather maybe because of the pandemic, it got delayed, or is that one of the reasons why it's taking this long, or?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and quite frankly, it takes a lot of staff, and it's the same staff working on the same projects.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it seems like the dates for all projects are kind of like mingling together. So I'm wondering, I mean, which one is the priority for you guys?
So for us, it's M365. The 311, that's why we have the consultant, and then we have Zach working on it with him, but we really are having the consultant do most of the work. When we come to, are we going to actually implement something, that's several years down the line, and we should have M365. We really are very focused on M365 to the point where we're pushing off a lot of other work and saying, this is where we are and this is what we need to work on. This is actually another reason why the boards, commissions, and committees project, we have moved to August. You know, there's really just one or two people in other agencies that we have to work directly with on that timeline. And they also needed that space to not start working on it when we had first originally planned, which is in June. And so we said, okay, we're going to push it off to August, because at that point Leslie should be in a place where she's able to focus some energy on that while we have other work being done by consultants.
Good. I mean, that's really what I want to clarify. I think that I totally agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
I think that is the most, I mean, emails are,
We don't, I keep
Yes.
hitting this. It is not something that we are happy with. We don't like the situation that we are in. The amount of staff time that we work to keep it up and supported is incredible. And it's like 24/7 kind of support. And that is very wearing on them, and we don't want that. Yeah.
right. Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands. That's nothing else. Thank you, Director Edgerton.
Thank you so much.
Take us to Agenda Item 3, Legislative File 78124, Overview of TFOG's Recommendation Tracker. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen to provide a bit of context in terms of the umbrella areas, but the document in question is in Legistar. And just a reminder that our intent for CCEC is not to add or subtract projects or recommendations to this list, but to zone in and do a deep dive. And due to Director Edgerton's presentation about the M365 transition, 311 system, you will see that those are recommendations that already exist on the tracker as well. So just a preview, we will have a more in-depth BCC reorganization presentation at the next CCEC meeting of June 20th.
Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. This is just a quick overview. Oh, sorry. Just a quick overview of the tracker that is available in Legistar, and also to let you know that there is a link to the TFOG's final report attached to the, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Attached to the agenda. So if you would be able to then look in there and kind of get familiarized. I want to let everyone know to read or at least skim the appendices. There's a lot of information in the appendices in that report. So anyway, so this is a tracker that basically summarizes the recommendations that the TFOG's original committee made, and categorizes them in terms of sort of topic or type. So if you see, for example, here we have size and shape of council. I'm just going to scroll through BCC organization and structure, BCC admin support and resident engagement, appointments and chairs of BCCs, admin support and engagement again, overall structure, they're color coded, mayor's office, Legistar, 311, and so on, through the 42 recommendations. So there's more detail there. I also sent out the Excel version to the alders so that you are able to move things around in it and add and take notes and so on. Obviously, there's other sections there too, just to some note fields as we're working through the tracker.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions? So, as I stated earlier, we are working with Deputy Mayor Baumel on creating a deeper dive into work that has already gone on regarding BCC organization and structure. And so one of the intents that I wanted to have for our first meeting was to provide any feedback on the current structure, items that you may have read in the final report, or the tracker that you have questions on or would like to further elaborate when we do have the presentation and Deputy Mayor Baumel with us to provide some history and context as well. Alder Figueroa Cole?
Thank you. So I mean, again, for those that are not familiar with the TFOX committee, a very quick high-level summary. The committee provided recommendations to council on a list of recommendations for things to look into for us to decide if these are feasible and go ahead and complete them, or if they were not, then why they're not feasible. So most of the tracker has already been spread, like the 311, for example, was moved to IT. So most of the tracker has been completed. There are just a few things that are left open. It's not the intent to add additional things to the tracker, it's to complete the recommendations that the TFOX original team brought to us. So it would be great that at some point, I don't know, this council or next one, to just close the book on all of these recommendations. But right now, we're just trying to focus on a pretty large one, which is the committee's structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Figueroa Cole, or Vice President, I should say. Alder Wahili?
Thank you. So from my understanding, when Karen read the highlights of this document, and help me if I'm wrong, are we focusing on the orange highlighted ones, or that's because there are some areas that were already done through referendum and they should not be brought back here. Like, for example, the size and shape of the council, 4 years, size, shape of the council, limit to 12 years, increase council, let's see. So are we still revisiting this, or some of the results based on the referendum we're not going to revisit? I'm just curious.
As a point of clarification, Alder Wahili, are you talking about under the umbrella of size and shape of council?
Yes.
Well, I think that is for CCEC to determine, but unilaterally throughout conversations leading into council leadership elections and afterwards, many alders expressed interest on continuing the work of looking at the BCC organization and structure. In review of the last CCEC, there were a couple of things that they recommended the future CCEC move forward with. And so because there had already been some things in motion that paused to recognize the new CCEC that will be coming in, recommending that we start with that one because it's obviously very layered and throughout the tracker. And the tracker was just to provide a visual and context for some alders who are brand new, some who haven't seen the report or even are familiar with TFOGs. So it wasn't necessarily using the tracker as the basis of the work CCEC will do, but within the umbrellas, prioritizing what we think is feasible to be able to complete in a year or be able to have something that is complete and able to be handed down to the next CCEC if not accomplished during this term.
Yes, and my question is, along with that, is some of the items specifically that went through the referendum, is the CCEC going to undertake those again? Or the fact it was, settled with the residents that we're not going to revisit again? I'm just curious as, where we are.
Wonder, Attorney Haas, can you? I know that it says the Common Council Office is responsible for some of those, so legally I don't.
Yes. Some of them is the decision of the Common Council, but some of it needs referendum.
Absolutely.
And if the referendum has already done, are we going to do again? That's my question.
So some of those referendum questions were advisory referendum questions.
Okay.
And so the council can do whatever it likes with that information. It's basically polling the public. There isn't anything stopping any alder from proposing any of those items, even the binding referendum question. An alder can come back and say, we have a new council, a new electorate, and I'd like to have this reconsidered. So there isn't anything legally saying that you cannot consider them. If CCC or the council wants to make a definite decision that, we're not going to proceed with these any longer, you can, but there isn't anything preventing the council from taking up those items again.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Alder Healy. Alder Madison?
Thank you. I couldn't open the report, connect the task force report. It's not opening for me. So I was just wondering if and I tried it in Legistar too, and it wasn't opening from there.
I'm sorry, I'll resend that to everyone as soon as I can so that you all will be able to. It's a link, it's too big to attach to email.
Gotcha. That's what I figured. It was
Yeah.
probably like not gonna.
Unfortunately, I couldn't send it as an attachment, so I'll try again with the link and we can get it to work. So I'll
yeah,
send
no
that to
worries.
everyone again. Thank you.
And then just one question. I just want to, for myself, to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. For the CCEC, where it says responsible city agencies, this committee is listed for reorganizing BCCs to increase accountability. I just want to make sure, is this like to prioritize this group to work on that, or how, I just want to understand like the order of the list, or is there no order? It's just sort of as we can work on these things.
I believe they're numerical chronological order, but these are the 43 recommendations from the final report of the TFOGs. So suggestions, and kind of similar to what Attorney Haas had said about the advisory or binding referendums, if CCEC or members of the council choose to take that on, that would be something. This doesn't deliver or tell us,
Okay.
you got to work on A, B, C, and D.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just serves kind of as a guideline to inform what we would like to prioritize and think we could complete in this term.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Figueroa Cole.
And I want to emphasize, again, that anybody can take up a recommendation if something that you're interested in working on and get all the others to work on it. Nothing stops you from doing that. So.
Sorry, I thought I saw a hand in Zoom. I think Alder Bennett may be trying to get promoted to a panelist.
Yep. Alder Bennett, you should have a prompt to be promoted, as well as Alder Evers. There we go.
Thank you.
Perfect. Alder Bennett, did you have a question or just wanted to get back in?
Just wanted to get promoted. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time on this item because we still have a future or agenda items ahead of us, but wanted to see if there was any last input, at least in this meeting, of things that you would like to see in the BCC presentation, maybe based on what you see in the tracker now, based on experience onboarding, understanding and learning how to access information about BCC structure, et cetera, et cetera. Alder Bennett? Maybe not. Alder Govindarajan?
Quick question. There was one recommendation. I don't have it pulled up anymore, but it's the changing alder terms to 4 years. So that's something that would go through Common Council, or is that a referendum thing?
That'd be a referendum item. Alder.
Okay, and that did not that happen like officially. That was like advisory recently, right?
I believe that was advisory, correct? I know it did not pass.
That would be accurate.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Haas said he'd have to double check, but yes, believe that it's advisory and did not pass. Alder Figueroa Cole?
And we did discuss that on the last council, on the last CCEC group, and that didn't pass that committee either. But again, it doesn't stop you from bringing it up if you want to address that.
Alder Madison?
The only, I guess, which might be in the report, but if it's not in the report, just understanding costs, like where there's some cost projections were sort of done for 25 and 26, which is childcare and parking validation. So I'm more just interested in like, what are the costs of some of the items listed, especially those two.
Thank you. We have that noted, Alder. All right. Don't see any other hands raised. So a reminder that feedback can be presented to Chief of Staff, Kaputsa Pofal, if it comes up after the meeting or later. All right, that will move us to agenda item 4, which is council office updates, and I'll turn it over to our Chief of Staff.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. So for the new folks, I just want to give a quick kind of explanation. So at each CCEC, I provide a Chief of Staff update, and I send it over to everyone as well. And it will cover a number of things, so I recommend that even if you're not on CCEC or you didn't have a chance to watch CCEC, when you see this one come through, if you wouldn't mind checking on it and reading it, because we try to include some announcements and information as well as project updates. So I try to make it informative and useful. So I start out with some announcements from the office, such as staff out of office coming up. We have most of our June out of office dates set. So I'm providing them to you here. Of course, we'll also use our auto replies, but this gives you a sense, for example, when Debbie is out, if you see that she's going to be out and you want to plan ahead for a neighborhood meeting, then, plan way ahead to give her a chance to get as much done as she can before she goes. Okay, so that's that, and I'll try to keep you all updated on our office dates as we move along. Let's welcome back Kehinde Fadele, our Aspire summer intern, who's here in the room. She was our Aspire intern last summer, and she applied to come back to us, and so welcome her back. And then also our new legislative analyst, whose name is Isaac, will be joining us starting Monday, June 12th. I'll send out more information at that time about Isaac. We're very excited to be fully staffed again come Monday the 12th. So yes, that's very exciting for us. So I wanted to provide a couple of reminders and tips, and I will be bringing more information to you all as well. I wanted to highlight, I have to move things around here. Okay. I wanted to highlight that we have, all of the alders have now been trained on the updated blog tool, which means that all of you are now have access to those blogs, and you're able then to independently access and post to your blog. And if you'd like a refresher training, please reach out to the council office. The blog tool was originally created so that alders have an independent forum through which they can communicate directly with their constituents about the issues that matter to them in their district. And this was part of the recommendations of the Alder Communication Tools Work Group. We send out as you notice, the meetings and event highlights via email on Fridays. Try to get that out on Fridays for you, which you then can use at your leisure. Some folks use the whole thing and take it and go ahead and post the whole thing. Other people use small pieces of it. Other people add their own commentary. It's just an additional sort of assistance kind of content for you to choose from if you'd like. And then we will be sending out a communication that goes into more detail about Alder blogs and the scope of available council office assistance in this area so that you'll have more guidance and information on what we are able to provide you, what kind of help we're able to provide, and so on and so forth. So just wanted to highlight that for you. And then I'm thanking everyone for continuing to make your effort to give at least 3 weeks in advance notice of any neighborhood meetings that you are starting. It helps for a number of reasons. A lot of folks are going back to in-person, and in-person meetings require discussions with site event locations and libraries and coordinations, and every time we do that, it's an email, and there's time between the emails and everything, as opposed to just starting up a Zoom meeting and going about our way. Interpreters, we need, there's a certain amount of time we need for interpreters, take some time. And then we find that there are just sometimes, coordinating staff, when you want staff members from other departments to be at your meetings. We find sometimes there are just things. And so because there's so much interest in neighborhood meetings, Debbie does, in order to manage her workload, she really does value that 3 weeks advance notice. And as much information as you can get to her at the front end, the better, because then she can, it helps in her process. So thank you for that continued effort. I wanted to give quick project updates. Sarah mentioned the BCC admin support team. We're going to be meeting again on June 26th. We're working on a plan to provide BCC staff with updated training and support. And you can see some updates over the last, the previous months of this year in Legistar under this item. So you can get a little bit of a recap of what we've been working on in that group. And I'm happy to discuss that more at any time. I'll be providing more, information as we develop. The social media pilot is basically ready to present. I'm thinking first meeting in July or whatever works best for the group, so that we can get guidance on next steps and potential full rollout to any interested alders who want to have district social media. The Alder Intern Matching Program is ready to present. I met with some alders to go over the materials, and I'm ready to present that at whenever CCC is ready to have me present that. And then I wanted to, and I do this, I like to highlight trainings that are available to us. The city provides them. They've really put a lot of effort. Organizational development has really put a lot of effort into their training program. Over the course of the time that I've been here, I've really seen that, the results of that effort. And when I see trainings that I think alders could benefit from in terms of maybe working with constituents or, working with each other, working with, maybe bringing to your day jobs, anything like that, I want to highlight for you. I'm also taking a lot of these, and I have my staff taking a lot of these. And so one that I'm taking that I think you all, it would be helpful for everyone to take is trauma-informed living. And there's a little blurb here, and I listed the upcoming dates, and it's virtual, which makes it really easy to access from wherever you may be. And then we can talk later, if you take it and I take it, we can have a talk about how it went and whether we think it's something that we could try to encourage maybe another session or encourage more alders to take. So anytime you take the trainings, I love to hear the feedback. And the other one that I took and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's useful for us all in all parts of our lives, is the giving and receiving feedback. It's a 2-part series. I really liked it. I think that it has advice for not just, work environments, but any environments where, kind of as part of building a communication toolkit, because we're also trying to help everybody build a very robust communication toolkit, since everyone does have to do so much communicating with so many folks. So those are some things I recommend. And then there's some additional trainings of interest that I recommend, the gender inclusive language training, in case folks would like a little more sort of information and understanding about what is gender inclusive language, what does that look like, and so on and so forth, why do it. And then also involving people in decisions that impact them, which one I think is quite relevant, of course, for everyone's work, and might have some useful information there. So go ahead and peruse the entire list. They've listed a long list of trainings for the year. And if you do take a training, I would love to hear from you about how it went. I'll just put a real plug in that we're working on a number of other trainings as well to offer to alders to be able to increase our toolkits in a number of ways, which I'll be giving updates as I get those things organized. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions, points of clarification? Seeing none. Thank you. I would also like to second the recommendation to take advantage of the training resources. We get emails frequently, and staff have been really accommodating when a session has been full to add to the wait list or give accommodations. So can't recommend enough. And that takes us to agenda item 5 and our final agenda item of the night, 78125, future agenda items. So again, for our June 20th CCEC meeting, we will have a BCC reorganization presentation, more so about what's been done to help CCEC inform prioritization of implementation, if any of those recommendations want to be moved forward for implementation. Based on either Chief of Staff and Council updates or any other matters, are there suggestions, desires for future agenda items? Alder Madison?
At the internship update,
To the,
our intern matching, to add that as a discussion point. Okay, that's it.
thank you, Alder Madison. Alder Wheelie?
I will recommend, I don't know when, but future CCEC to invite Kara, I don't know her last name, for the Voices of the Customers.
Kratowitz. And that's from the DCR, correct? No. HR, okay.
Performance excellence.
Performance
Sorry,
excellence.
I think sorry, I was speaking without this thing on.
She does a very good
Performance
presentation on the,
excellence
Voices of the Customer.
coordinator.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, Voices of the Customer. Thank you, Alder Healy. Alder Govind, oh my God, I'm gonna get it. Govindarajan. So, wait, hard.
Okay. Like Karen was saying, the first week of July, or the first meeting of July, the social media program, maybe.
All right, thank you. Alder Bennett?
My sincerest apologies if this was already talked about, but hybrid meeting allowances for BCCs.
Thank you, Alder. A question back to that. All BCCs, was there a prioritization on type of BCCs?
All BCCs.
Okay. Thank you, Alder. Alder Rummel?
It's not so much an agenda item, but I'm curious if council leadership has discussed and wants to move forward with a retreat for alders.
Great question, Alder Rummel. Yes, we have been meeting and consulting and got a bid and have an upcoming meeting on Monday to meet with the provider who put together a bid for us. And hopefully soon you'll see an email from Karen with some dates to hold or to let us know if there's conflicts. But ideally that retreat will be held in the month of July and August if need be, but July is what we're looking at, and weekend, a Saturday. So please let us know if there are other days of the week or evenings. Open to feedback, but also we are already in June, so time is ticking fast. Alder Evers. Alder, you're unmuted on our end, but we're not hearing you. Do I do something? That's odd. No, it's not connected. While we wait on Alder Evers to get reconnected to audio. Alder Bennett, did you have another comment or your hand still raised?
Sorry, it's just still raised.
Okay, thank you. We'll try to get this worked out for you, Alder Evers. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Give media team a couple of minutes to try to work that out. Alder Wahili.
I don't know if this would be the right place, but I'm wondering if we can have kind of processes in terms of the residue analysis, maybe inviting DCR, how we look into sometimes agenda come to the council and we ask questions if residue analysis has been done, but what could be the process and how, department should look into this more deeper.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Figueroa, Vice President Figueroa Cole.
I got Evers on the line.
Yeah, I know. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Okay, that's not gonna work. This is computer. He has to mute his phone.
You could just.
Now we don't hear Steve either.
Weird.
Mute your computer.
Alder Evers, well, we can't comment, so never mind. I was going to ask you a question.
I'll just say thanks to everybody for their patience with our first hybrid CCEC meeting ever. I appreciate your continued patience. I see Stefan working furiously to figure it out.
Alder Govindarajan.
I believe if we mute the phone and he can still speak, it won't have that echoing effect.
Thank you.
Inflation and other challenges so that alders can have a living wage for the work that we do.
So
I'd like to discuss that if possible. Thanks.
So that we're going to add in back to the agenda a modest discussion of a modest raise for Alders.
Okay, so increase alder pay. All right. I'm assuming Alder Bennett's hand is still just up. I know there's been some glitches before. All right, not hearing from Alder Bennett. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I would entertain a motion for adjournment. Vice President Figueroa.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you all. Meeting is adjourned.